葬列が闇を行くよ愛の葬列があなたを連れて
Hello, this video is very special and more personal than any other I've ever made because it's about something that evokes dance feelings in me. I'm posting it on the 19th of October, the anniversary of the passing of Atsushi Sakurai, who was the vocalist of my favorite band Bactic for almost 40 years. I'm still deeply affected by this loss and I believe I still haven't really moved on from it. When the anniversary of his passing was becoming closer, I was wondering what would be the best way to commemorate him. I had a desire to do something meaningful. If we view art as a language to express our emotions, one of my languages is drawing. It felt natural to express myself this way. That's how I came up with the idea of making a video in his memory where I would draw him. Drawing Atsushi has always been a bit challenging for me due to both personal, emotional, and technical aspects. For some reason, I struggle to keep the balance when capturing his facial features, and is also the case when I feel especially responsible and preoccupied with the outcome. But of course, I'll try to do my best here. I would also like to share the story of where the idea to draw him adorned with flowers comes from. Several days before the anniversary of his passing, I came across one of Atsushi's last interviews from 2023 that truly broke my heart. I will leave the link to the translation of this interview in the description. Among other numerous topics, he talked about his love for all kinds of flowers and how he would often find flowers on his mother's grave. The interview ends with his thoughts on the type of flowers he would like to see on his own grave. Also, he was very flexible about it. He expressed a preference for flamboyant flowers over more reserved and traditional options. In honor of that, I decided to draw a purple hibiscus, a flower mentioned in the song Coyote, which is beloved by many fans. I also added a baby's breath, since Atsushi mentioned it as his favorite flower in that same interview. While I'll be drawing him, I'll also talk a bit about how I discovered Bhaktik and the role this band and Atsushi's art played and continue to play in my life. And since my story isn't standard, I think it's important to tell it because it shaped my reaction to Atsushi's passing in many ways. Bhaktik is a band that appeared in my life long time ago and at the same time its discovery is very recent. The first encounter happened when I was a teenager around the year 2014-2015. At that time I was listening to a lot of Japanese bands like The Gazette and Duran Grey, so it was quite natural that at a certain moment I discovered Bhaktik as well. I immediately felt that there was something really special about this band. I was drawn to the romanticism and longing that were present in their work, and of course, Atsushi's alluring voice. I fell in love with such compositions as Coyote, Muma the Nightmare, Snow White, Teiyo ni Kurosarata, to mention some, and of course, their most famous song, Dress. However, different things prevented me from really becoming a fan at that time, and one of them was Bhakti's tendency to experiment with different genres. I vividly remember the moment when their album Atomu Miraiha number 9 was released, and it provoked mixed feelings in me. Also, I thought that it was a great work. I just couldn't answer the question if I personally liked it. And of course, the reason was that I was a teenager and I was still trying to figure out was what exactly I was enjoying in music and what I was looking for. But in a certain sense, Atsushi Sakurai has been a figure that evoked interest in me, even though my first attempt to immerse myself into Bhakti was a bit unfortunate. I perceived him as someone inspiring, very charismatic, and at the same time authentic. I even recall my attempts to replicate his makeup from the 90s when I was a teenager. Later, I distanced myself from the Japanese music in general, and it wasn't until 2023 that I started to rediscover it. At that time, I became more open to listening to different genres and to experimentation in music in general. And in October 2023, I accidentally came across the song Sakura and fell in love with its mesmerizing melody. Soon I realized that this discovery was very symbolic. The song was dedicated to Atsushi's mother, who had died and with whom he had been very close, and after his passing, it acquired a special meaning. I still think that it was an impactful coincidence that I connected with this song so intensely at that moment, just several weeks before his passing. And of course, I was shocked when I saw the news about his death. It was the first time in my life when the passing of someone famous really affected me. I was reflecting on it, listening to the songs that I knew and loved at that time with big and profound sadness. However, at that time in 2023, I hadn't yet connected with the art of Bhakti and Atsushi on such a deep level as I do now, so the feelings weren't as intense as they would become later. As I continued exploring the discography of Bhakti, I initially even tried to view Atsushi's passing as nothing more than a historical event, and I recognize that it may sound cold and cruel, but in the end, I just couldn't view it this way. It felt strange to mourn someone I hadn't even known personally, but at a certain moment, I accepted this sadness. Listening to Bhakti and watching the videos with the band involved a lot of tears, and I still experience that profound sadness today. But at the same time, I am deeply grateful to Atsushi for everything that he created during his life. His art will always be dear for me and will always occupy a very special place in my heart. The sincerity, vulnerability, and love that was present in everything that he created resonated with me on a deeply personal level, and I will never forget it. His music and performances have always felt profoundly human, and they will continue to accompany me through different moments of my life. I feel that appreciating them now is the best gift that I can give to him. I've always seen Atsushi as someone very dedicated to his craft, and I can't get rid of the feeling that he gave all of himself to his art and his audience. Expressing my gratitude now feels like the most natural thing to do. And I also want to thank everyone who has watched the video until this moment. I hope and truly believe that Atsushi's soul is now resting in peace. It's beautiful that his art has had more power than death and continues to live on in the hearts of those who treasure and love it. Atsushi will always remain in the hearts of his fans and those who had the honor of knowing him personally.